Hey everybody, Lisa Schmitz here, and if you're seeing this, you have found my booth at Gilley's Antique and Decorator Mall, and thank you for stopping by. I wanted to give you just a little bit of background on my plaster art and how it came about and how I actually do it, what the process is. So I'm also a floral designer. My floral business is Where Pigs Fly and Such, and there are some business cards there. Feel free to take some and share with your friends, but also follow along on Instagram. So on Instagram, I am Where Pigs Fly and Such. Also, the Mars Hill Art Center is Mars Hill Arts, and that is where I do everything. And my floral business helps support our art center. We're just on the southwest side of Indianapolis, so not that far from Plainfield. And how this plaster art came about was I wanted to find a way to memorialize flowers that wasn't resin, it wasn't pressing them, it wasn't preserving them. And we happen to have a pottery studio right here in our art center. So I taught myself plaster relief, and I have just fallen in love with it. I wake up thinking of things that I want to do. But I want to show you the floral part, and my goal this year is to make a piece for myself with a few pieces left over from each wedding that I'm doing. So this particular tile is from June. June 11th. In fact, I had two weddings on this day. So I have the date in the middle, and I have the flowers, some leftovers from one wedding on this side, and then the other wedding represented on this side. And this one I've made as a tile, so it can sit on a floating shelf or on a cupboard like I have behind me. And sometimes I put hooks on the backs of my pieces so that you can hang them on the wall. Sometimes I make them as a tile. And this one is as a tile. But basically what I do is I flatten out clay on a table, and then I take each of these flowers and I press them into the clay with a rolling pin, or we have something called a slab roller, which will roll a big steel wheel over everything. And it basically crushes or presses all those flowers into that clay. And then I painstakingly pick them all out with something like this or with tweezers, and it can take a really long time. In fact, it's very much a labor of love and sometimes very therapeutic as well, because sometimes it takes a really long time to get all those little bits and pieces of the flower out of the clay. But then once that is cleaned off and you see the impression or the fossil that is left by what I've picked out, then I take either a template, like this long tile. I had some pieces of wood that I made as a template to set over the top of the fossilized impression that's left. Or a lot of times I like to repurpose old picture frames, and that's what I've done with this one. So this set, I actually found at Goodwill, and they had glass and they had items in them. I took it all apart, and then I will press other things too, not just flowers. So this is a key cover from one of my favorite vintage stores, Tim and Julie's. And I pressed this into the clay, and then also a coneflower from my garden at home, and pressed those, then peeled them back out. And then I take this frame, set it on top, and pour the plaster into the back. And then I let it set up. And then once it sets up, I have to peel the clay off, and then you get this reveal. It's like Christmas every single time. And so that's just a little bit of how I do it, what I do. And again, I can use all kinds of different things that can make a flat impression into clay. I love this one so much. So I also got this at Tim and Julie's. And I took that and pressed it, and then I also pressed a flower inside that little opening, and then I drilled a hole, and I'll put a little string in there so that I can hang this on the wall. And so I'm always thinking of little things like that. I've used clock parts. We did a little boy's birthday party and did it as an activity, and they brought Legos, and we pressed the Legos and their initials into their pieces that they got to take home. So it's really a lot of fun. So thanks for looking up this information. Thanks for coming to the booth and to Gilley's, and maybe I'll see you out there sometime. Also wanted to share too, my art is on display in the Secretary of Education's office at the Indiana State House as part of the Indiana Hoosier Women Artists program. I got accepted into that, and so I have a big piece hanging there, which I just was thrilled about. So I make pretty much any shape and size. I've made a few larger ones in antique old windows, and they weigh a ton, and I'm always just so prayerful that they don't break when I take the clay off and start to finish them off. But yeah, so it's a lot of fun. Plaster Relief is the art. Thank you for stopping by, and I hope to see you soon.